And with that strength, that brings up another great point. Maybe I can go back to that video of Park Sung-hyun, but one of the other kind of reasons, and you've probably seen this as well, is kind of related to the strength, is often the draw elbow is high just because, if we scroll to the back view, it's only high because of this muscle, the upper traps, gets involved for a lot of archers, and they're not using this, they're not bringing the scapula around properly, they're not using the lower muscles of the scapula, and essentially it's what you just described, where if you're not quite strong, either it's strength or sometimes it's just the pattern and not knowing what to do. But a lot of archers end up kind of bringing this part and ramming it up close to the neck, and then the draw elbow gets high because of that as well. So this is why
that makes perfect sense, because when this athlete improved his strength, now when you look from behind at this angle, you see his scapula coming around really nice. And that was like one of the things I highlighted on our session, was you can really see that you're getting a much better position, and because of that, everything else is falling into place. But without the strength, that just wasn't an option 2 months ago, you know. But we made progress, and he looks really good now.
Yeah, and that scapula moving around, maybe you don't notice it immediately, in terms of the archer might not notice immediately, but long term, that's going to be so much less injury risk. You might not feel like, oh, less injury risk, because it's hard to feel these kind of things, but over hundreds and hundreds of arrows, that's going to really save his shoulder, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all great for the future.
Yeah. So just to kind of explore this a little bit more, I'd love to show, I've got another different video. If you're enjoying this video and want step-by-step guidance from me to improve your technique, check out my Online Archery Academy video courses. Go to onlinearcheryacademy.com, click Explore the Courses for a special discount. Now back to the video. This one of Lee Woo-suk that I want to bring up. So this is really good. And there's actually another archer kind of in front of him shooting as well that we can look at. But if we bring up Lee Woo-suk again, just here, because he's a good example, again, of someone with, you know, what you would traditionally call maybe a little bit of a high elbow. Even from earlier in the shot, his elbow can be a little bit higher than most people when he's drawing the bow. But again, the key thing is here, if we actually play this time, this scapula is sliding around and coming around to the spine really nicely, using like the mid back and the lower back. And there's not really any tension around the neck. This is the crucial thing I want people to see, is check for tension around the neck. If you're worried about your draw elbow height, have a look from behind. Preferably shoot without a t-shirt on, because you can see a lot easier. But that's what you're looking for. Because if you come around and there's massive tension in the neck and your draw elbow's high, then that's something to fix. That's definitely going to, A, injury risk, but B, just like shooting and grouping.
And I know it's not always for everyone, but it's often a green flag, a good sign when he comes up to full draw here, and you can see there's so much gap between his shoulder and the arrow.
Yeah, on the front.
I know you sometimes you do find people who do have no neck and they do have big muscles. Yeah. So it's not 100% a yes or a no. But when I see an athlete and there's like an inch gap between the shoulder and the arrow, that really does often mean that the neck is relaxed and the shoulders are down. But yes, it's not exclusively. It's just one of the things that adds to the picture of how someone is shooting. And yeah, I hate to say it, but he has good technique.
He does. He has some
he gets
definitely
a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, a golden banana he gets from for the technique.
Indeed.
So yeah, I think this is really good. And even if we go to the guy behind, and this is an example of someone with he kind of shoots similar to Kang Chae-young, where his elbow is actually maybe on the low side. It's basically just in line with the arrow, even though the arrow.
And when you look at the front as well, there's no gap between his shoulder and the arrow either.
Yeah,
he's just a different body type.
Yeah,
and he's in a different position.
Slightly different position with that. And if we just put the playback speed to half here, but you'll see just when he comes in, he's got a slightly different draw path, slightly different face shape. We obviously can't see the front of his face, but because of his jawline, he doesn't need to go as high. And crucially, you can see he's got really good engagement with the scapula and coming around there. If he elevated the elbow, it would change how the scapula is working, and it would change how that feels. So this is an interesting exercise for people to do at home when you're shooting next, or preferably with a lighter bow or something. But deliberately change your elbow height, this is much better with a light bow, but deliberately change your elbow height, and with the intention of seeing, does this help my scapula coming round, or does it make it worse? Like, can I feel my lats working more? Do I feel less of my neck tension if I slightly increase the elbow height or slightly decrease the elbow height? Because actually it can have a big impact on the leading from the elbow that we always talk about. If you change that, then you're kind of leading from a different point, aren't you?
If I go high, I feel like, it's a little bit extreme here, but it feels like I just cannot engage the back. It feels like the scapula is sort of not frozen, but I definitely can't. Yeah, and I've only got to move it up a couple of inches, and then I feel like I just, I lose so much. I lose so much movement. I don't quite fully understand the biomechanical reasons why that's the case, but I can just go up a little bit, and then I really cannot get the same position and the same feeling. You know, I'm talking about doing this with a 20-pound bow as well, so it's nothing to do. Yeah. It's nothing really to do with strength. It is just that engagement of the back doesn't, scapula doesn't work when you got a particularly high shoulder.
And when you do that and you lower your elbow, if you go too low, you also feel it doesn't work as well, right?
Yes, it would be the same. Yeah, I must admit, I very rarely come across people with too low elbow. Normally they're either acceptable or they're too high. Have you come across anyone who's been coming in shooting? I get absolute beginners who want to draw the bow with a low elbow, but I don't normally get anyone who's been shooting more than a month in that situation. It's normally it's okay or it's too high.
It's very rare, and I think it's if you do see someone, I can't think of anyone that I've coached with that, but if you do see someone, it's mainly like a workaround. So for example, like Jean-Charles Valadon, who is working around an injury that meant that he could only draw in a certain way, but then actually the full draw position is not actually how he's drawing. Obviously he draws with the elbow low to get in and get the scapula around, just because that works for him. And then the full draw position is kind of standard, if you like. But yeah, it's very rare to have the kind of elbow lower or kind of too low with that as well. But yeah, definitely have a feel with that. And that kind of brings us on to the final point I wanted to talk about, which is everyone can actually try this at home now, and I'll just demo it. But when you adjust the elbow height, it is impossible to not change your finger pressure and your hooking. And this is why I wanted to kind of highlight this. And this is why I always go on about the set position and the hook and all this so much, and why it's important to get it right. Because if you're in this position here, and for example, my elbow is just flat, not really too high, not too low at the moment. If I then bring my elbow up, you can literally see how the finger pressure is going to change on the string. It's impossible to not. It's just physics. And then on the way down as well is the same. So again, the archers that I've seen with a particularly high draw elbow where it is a problem, and the ones where maybe they struggle with the collapsing, often they're slipping off too much on the bottom finger. It's me again here. If you don't want to join the courses just yet, but you want help from me, sign up to my free weekly newsletter by putting your email address in at onlinearcheryacademy.com and clicking join now. Or click become a member to join my online membership community, where you can get access to loads of exclusive content, plus ask questions directly for me to answer in Q&A sessions. So check that out if you want to. And now back to the video. Is that what you were thinking as well there? That's kind of what you...
Absolutely. It's very rarely you get a high elbow and then you don't have the bottom finger 60% off the string on that. Yeah.
Moral support bottom finger.
And I know we've covered that in other videos, but yeah, that is a area of importance. And even though you get the odd champion coming through who lets that bottom finger slip, it's really not a desirable thing. And even the top archers who do let it slip, they know it's a weakness, and they know it doesn't help their technique. It's just something, for whatever reasons, which I don't quite understand, it's something they can't fix, but they know it is a consistency issue for sure.
Exactly. And when you're drawing the bow in particular, it's really important, once you've done that set position, you've put your hand in the bow, that's a whole nother topic we can talk about a different day, but with the hook, once you've set that and then you're drawing the bow, it's so important to maintain that and not slip off, because again, it's the slipping off when you're leading from your elbow and you're trying to maybe maintain a height, the slipping off of the fingers basically just kills anything. It just makes you go down with the elbow. And again, it's that slipping off that leads to the change of the drawing from the elbow, the change at the full draw position, the collapse down. And often these archers are the ones that it's kind of a combination, like you said, strength, slipping off with the fingers, probably also related to strength a lot of the time. And then that causes some of the issues coming through the clicker. And then that might develop into a little bit of kind of target panic and waiting for the clock to shoot their arrows. So there's a lot of things going on, and maybe this is a whole nother video, but this is kind of why I mainly look at target panic as a technical problem, not as much as a mental problem as I think a lot of people, there is a mental aspect to it, but often
it's triggered by physical, controllable things. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, yeah, that is a very good description. Yeah.
So likely, you're so much more likely to have target panic if you're not strong enough to control your bow or your bow shoulder or your elbow and that kind of stuff. But I think that'll be a good topic for another video. But
sure.
I just wanted to kind of describe the draw elbow height today and kind of go through that. Is there anything that you think we kind of missed or wanted to cover more about the draw elbow height?
No, I think we've covered it, and we used, because it's always, anytime we're talking about feelings and pressures, I wish they were all things we could give numbers to, because my idea of a solid anchor is never the same as another person's solid anchor. But I think with the points we went through, I think it gives someone the opportunity to video themselves and build up their own opinion. I really would video yourself. Drawing up and looking at yourself is not acceptable here. You want to get your friend, hold your phone, make the videos, and then see. And often trying different positions with a 20-pound bow and trying to see what's natural, because sometimes you can fall into a unnatural position with your heavy bow, but you can't move from it. So sometimes just shooting a 20-pound bow for half an hour can sometimes just let your body open up and you can find a better position. And if you video yourself with your bow and with the light bow, and there's a big difference in elbow height, then maybe we need to look at your strength.
That is a really good point, actually. Yeah, because you don't think you're overbowed until you draw a bow that you can actually do what you want with, and then you're like, okay, maybe I'm a little bit overbowed. That's a really, really good point. And actually, before we finish, just reminded me of the kind of final thing with this. I mentioned about people going up into the anchor and really getting too solid with that. If you focus more on your solidness of your anchor, if you're trying to get a really solid anchor, you need to focus more on that feeling of solid being from the string on the face and the elbow movement away from the target rather than upwards. So I struggled with this for a little while, and also often the people that struggle with this get cuts on their chin from the tab because they're going up so much. But I struggled with this for a little bit, and I asked a couple of the Korean archers what they feel in terms of how solid are they at full draw. I spoke to Kim Woo-jin about this, I spoke to Kubon Chan about this, and they both said the same thing, which is they don't focus that much on getting a really solid contact with the finger against the jaw. So when I asked them about that, it wasn't like they were kind of ramming that into the jaw. They said it almost feels like they're just floating through anchor, and the string is solid on the face, but they're more focused about movement. So this is a really important point where you want that solid string on the face. But when I then spoke to them about that, and then I learnt about it, and I focused more on the movement, it felt, and I have to put a massive caveat here, this is what it felt like, this is not what it looked like. It felt like I was shooting, coming in, and having a slight gap, strong string on the face, and then shooting. And it felt like that because I was so used to pushing up really, really hard. When I then, this is where the videoing that you mentioned is really important. When I then videoed it, I was still physically touching. There was no gap. And this is where it's really important. But the feeling of still being able to move through, you still have an anchor, but still being able to move through and being, solid in a different way, that completely transformed how I was expanding through the clicker, my full draw position.
Yeah.
And I stopped having to worry about I'm going to draw the bow, get to a really solid position, and then I'm screwed. I can't pull through the clicker anymore. So I think maybe some people watching might have struggled with that before as well. And I just wanted to kind of mention that. But yeah, I think the light bow that you mentioned is really important to start with on that point.
Yeah, it can just open up so much. And yeah, I wish what we need now is a finger tab with a pressure sensitive pad, so we can see how much different students are pushing against their chin, because you never know, because my idea of push against your face is so different to other people's. But that's why we have coaches, that's why we have video cameras, so we can find a solution and get you back on the right track.
Exactly, yeah. This has been really good. Thank you, Mike. I really enjoyed that.
I did too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will get a lot of benefit from that. So let us know in the comments if you've got maybe some follow-up questions, or maybe a different topic that you'd like us to cover in a future video. I think maybe a target panic video might be a good one after what we talked about today as well.
Target panic series, not video, series.
Yeah, probably. Let's start the controversy. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.